Welcome to the Books on Air podcast. I'm Suzanne Harris, and my listeners get the secret story behind the book. Joining me today is a very inspirational man. His name is Mr. John Omar Vieira, and he's here to talk about his autobiographical book, Saved from Dementia. Mr. Vieira, welcome to Books on Air. It's such a pleasure to have you. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. What a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you.
You know, I'm always curious. Authors write books for all kinds of reasons. Your book is inspirational as well as a very personal journey. What made you decide to write a book and share that journey with the world?
It was something about science that was revealed to me through the study of Christian Science by the founder and discoverer Mary Baker Eddy. And I was in psychiatric examinations for over 27 years. And I wanted to share that because something is so integral to everybody on the face of the planet in terms of their longevity and mental health. And so I know that the government spend a lot of money looking after patients and caring for the elderly and young folks to diagnose with that problem.
Your journey has been, I mean, when I started to read, I was just, you have had such a difficult time, such a difficult life, and it all started when you were very young.
Yes.
Let's give our listeners an overview of what the book covers in your life. I know that's a difficult thing to do because there's a lot of it.
Yes. Well, an overview. If I can start, I was left as a child in the care of my mother's Khan family, Hindu-Muslim, in a tiny Hindu-Muslim community. And that was had impacted hugely, but there was also the tiny community of Hindu Muslims, the Arabic financial monopoly, unification of the black African culmination, the list goes on, the Islamization of knowledge, the members of my mother's Khan family and their affiliations, Guyana, Indo-Afro-Guyanese High Commission, government, politics, community and their affiliations, the Arab Confederacy, the Hindu antipathy, the incipient exposition that I was in the astral plane, the described Omar angle of incidents, the obscurity of cradle infancy. The list is endless. The Asian economy, the particular use of the English sovereignty, the House of Saudi Arabia, women's liberation, the power of attorney, historic Latin European imperialism, the socio-economic political agenda and its implications, the emphasis of the developmental process through the vicissitudes of my naturalization within the emphasis of social services intervention, social security dependency, prescribed medication, exchange of British citizenship, the particular use of the English sovereignty, Arab English royalty, the Great British Commonwealth, Great British colonialism, religious and cultural intersection, the nature of the transactions, the metaphysical impact, justice and recompense, my identity, social mobility, and the implications are enormous, and this all impacted on you've got to understand as a child, in the community in London, nobody actually called the child by his Christian name, which was John.
Wow, that impacted you tremendously, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You can only imagine. I mean, I really didn't get to grips with any of this until I was actually, oddly enough, admitted into psychiatric care. And you could see where it was leading to, actually, couldn't you?
Yes, and I'm sure when you looked back, you could see where your path had been just made for you. I mean, you didn't have any choice.
Absolutely.
So what saved you? The title of the book is Saved from Dementia. What saved you?
Well, let me just read one little short paragraph. It won't be too long. It's a short paragraph. This is what saved me. Basically, the healing of this book arrives at the point of the impact of divine metaphysics as revealed to the author, John Omar Vieira, by his understanding of Christian science and science and health with Key to the Scriptures, written by Mary Baker Eddy, as well as the author's Latin surname Vieira, indicates as being nearer to the truth. And it's that book, Science and Health, written by Mary Baker Eddy, the discoverer and founder of Christian Science, along with the other writings who actually established the Church of Christ Scientists altogether and Christian Science, the religion. It inspired me hugely.
Yes, it sounds like it. It really did save your life, didn't it?
It did, absolutely.
Now, when you decided to write this book, was there an event? Was there something that happened that said, write it now, Mr. Vieira?
Yes.
What happened?
Well, I was still under psychiatric care. I was still claiming Social Security benefit. I couldn't work. But I had skills. I was computer literate. I was a painter and decorator. I had qualifications previous to my breakdown and everything like that. So I could paint and decorate. So I met a gentleman called Dr. Brian Blanford, who was actually a physicist in London, an English professor. And so we got talking, and he asked me if I could paint his house. So I did. And as well as being an English professor, a physicist, he was also actually a Christian, a Christian Science practitioner. He was a Christian Scientist. We attended at the same church.
Wow. What a coincidence.
Absolutely.
Did you know him previously?
No, I had no idea whatsoever.
So what happened?
Well, we met at the reading room, one of the Christian Science reading rooms. And mind you, I was studying in Holborn, London, which is computer literacy, and it's not too far from where he lives. He used to live in Holborn, the city of London. So we met in the reading room one day, and we got talking about things, and I said, I really need some work. I'm in psychiatric care, and could you help me? And so he said, well, why don't you come and paint my house?
Wow, what an invitation. So
absolutely. What
did painting his house do for you?
Well, we got back to it got me back on track because I was actually self-employed before the diagnosis, so we did some work on the computer Excel worksheets. I don't know if you're familiar with spreadsheets, the Windows Microsoft package. So we did some sort of expenses and income and expenses because with a view for me to get back into work. So you could see where the prayer was working and everything was falling into place again, and I was actually recovering.
And you could feel it, couldn't you?
Yes, I could.
Physically as well as mentally.
Absolutely.
When you started to write the book, often when people write books that are as personal as yours is, often when they start to write, they experience something that is either surprising or something they didn't expect. Did anything come from writing the book that surprised you?
Yes, the opportunity to, in reciprocity, to references that denotes my understanding in circulation for the purposes of illustration, that came into mind. Because at the time I was studying Christian Science, intensely, and there was a lot of references in circulation, and really that inspired me. Took the opportunity to scientifically and spiritually respond to senior consultants And I mean, Dr. Blanford himself being a professor, a more senior gentleman, a professor, made it clear. And this is the level at which, I have to be engaged in.
How did it feel? Often when people write things that are as powerful as you have written, they say that there is a catharsis effect that takes place, that it almost feels like after they've put it down on paper, whether they wrote it with a computer or wrote it by hand, often when they've thought about it, as they put it down, when they finish, it's like a giant weight has been lifted off of their shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had that feeling as well?
I did. It was. You see, this is the impact of divine science. The clarification one needs. The revelations. To put it down on paper, as you quite rightly say. The great lifted burden is that the next day or the following day or whenever you do it again, be sure to leave the house or go into the environment, and in that sense, sort of purifies the environment.
Oh, I like that phrase. It purifies the environment.
Yes.
Tell me about the title. Why did you decide to call it Saved from Dementia?
Well, we hadn't at the time. At the time, I actually thought it was going to be diagnosed with dementia, but we thought saved because we wanted the healing aspect to be predominant, central to it all. We wanted the healing proofs and evidence.
Now, the cover is somewhat controversial. There's a picture of a needle on the cover, and it's been somewhat controversial. What led to that choice for the cover, Mr. Vieira?
Because right now I take depot antipsychotic injections every month.
Ah, so it's perfect.
Yes. I haven't got, with a view of discontinuation, because, of course, I haven't got the financial leg to stand on where I can turn around and say, well, this is enough. I've been healed from this diagnosis. It's been going on for too long. I finally have a financial leg, probably from the sale of my royalties, or if it gets into the right hands. Would you sign me off Social Security benefits and discontinue the medication? Because I no longer need it. But if I don't have that financial leg, and that's the contemporaneity, you see, because, of course, as well as writing the book, there's a socioeconomic dependency.
You're caught in a proverbial catch-22.
Absolutely. To claim Social Security benefits, you're diagnosed with an illness, mental health illness. And because you're diagnosed with a mental health illness, you cannot work, you claim Social Security, and it goes on and round in a circle.
Wow.
And there's so many patients out there that they just end up committing suicide. I've been there for over 27 years, and most of them have died. A lot of them have committed suicide. They've killed themselves.
That is amazing to think that the system itself is driving people to suicide.
Absolutely. And I mean, what you got to understand is it doesn't ensure any guarantee whatsoever. For example, hadn't I met this professor, hadn't I written the book, I mean, I might have found myself doing exactly the same thing.
Right.
But of course, I mean, it is sink or swim, but this is life for all of us. I mean, it could happen to anybody. It's the decisions we make in life is according to how we live, is it not?
Yes, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely right.
Now, some of us are rightly guided and some of us are not.
Yes, you're right. And right now, everything is in such a turmoil and flux because of everything that's happening in the world.
Absolutely.
That on top of everything else.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I'm going to tell them where they can find it. What do you think?
Yes, that's a good idea.
That sounds like a good idea. It is available on Amazon, so let me tell you how to find it. Now, if you've never purchased a book on Amazon before, the first time I went there, I thought it was a tiny bit intimidating because I didn't know what to do. There's all the pictures on their homepage, etc.
Yeah.
So if you just put in www.amazon.com and click on it, it will take you right to that homepage. Now, what you look for is sort of a long, light gray rectangular box. It's pretty skinny, and it'll be blank. Here's what you put into the box. The title of Mr. Vieira's book is Saved from Dementia, Dementia, by John Omar, Omar, Vieira, Vieira. Click when you put the title and Mr. Vieira's name in, and the book will come up, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about with the cover. You'll see the needle, and you'll see the hand on the needle. And you'll also see 2 words, look inside. Now, when I first saw those 2 words, I didn't know what to do with them. Put your cursor on those 2 words and just click, and the book will electronically open, and that will allow you to read an excerpt from the book, just so that you get a feel for the book and so that you start to understand the things that we have been talking about during our discussion. If you want to buy the book, you can buy it right there on that page. There are several different options. If you decide that you don't want to buy the book from Amazon, Mr. Vieira, is it available some other places if they don't choose to buy from Amazon?
They could go straight to my publishers, which is Xlibris, Xlibris, Xlibris publishing.co.uk.
And all they'd have to do is put in your name, I'm sure.
Yes,
John Omar.
John Omar Vieira, or John Vieira, or spell Mr. Vieira, Vieira.
Now, our time together is just about over, but I always like for authors, especially authors who have written a journey book like you have. We see you make a journey, and you start us out as you're a child, and then you bring us up to the present day in the book. It's always important, I think, for an author who has so much invested in their book especially, to be able to have the last word about the book. Now, when the listeners become readers, yours is not a book that they're going to just sit down and read cover to cover. Yours is a thought-provoking book that requires thinking about it. So they will sit down and they'll read some, and then they'll sit and think about it. And then they'll come back and they'll read some more, and they'll think about that. And finally, when they come to the very last page, and they finish reading that last page, and they close the back cover, either electronically or physically. I know this is a difficult question, but what would you like for that reader to take away? What message, what's your real, solid, bottom line message for that reader that you want them to leave with when they finish your book?
The bottom line is correlated divine science. Man being the compound idea of infinite spirit, the spiritual image and likeness of God, the full representation of mind, man and woman, and if, of course, they can read the Bible, the Old Testament, the New Testament, Jesus, and the Christ. And remember, mind is not deranged or cannot be disarranged.
I like that. It's been such a pleasure to talk with you. You're inspirational. Your book is inspirational. This is a story that I think everyone should read. Thank you so much for sharing it with us today on Books on Air.
Thank you very much.
Now remember, you can find a copy of Saved from Dementia by John Omar Vieira on Amazon as well as on Xlibris Publishing. You've been listening to the Books on Air podcast, brought to you on webtalkradio.net. You can also hear this podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. I'm Suzanne Harris, and I hope you'll join me for the next Books on Air podcast, because remember, you never know who's going to be here, and you never know what we're going to talk about. Thank you so much for listening.